Hello everyone, it's Chris here. Welcome back to a book show. It's a special episode. It will not be long. Well, I basically want to speak about BRICS. Now, BRICS is something which features in my books right from the beginning. In 2014, December, when the first book came out, which was codenamed BF0565, which was the code, actually the code from where the sleeper agents were got back to active duty, I suppose. Where they got recalled to duty. It was the code used. We have hence the name of the book. And that happened in about 98, just after those bombings of US embassies across Africa, I think Kenya and some other place. And hundreds of people actually died. And that's when we first knew there's a problem here with jihadism. But in fact, we knew about it before. If you look at OSTM, we go into great detail, not only on how to conduct a counter-espionage type of investigation, but also how South Africa became suddenly free of Muslim terror. Now again, as I say to you guys, always don't blame every Muslim you can see just because the 1% of them actually decided to take up a rifle or a bomb or start killing you. Because mostly you were looking for that. No, it's just fighting words, and I'm not going to go into it much. But if you listen to my other videos or read my books, you will understand that most of these people actually are not born terrorists. In fact, none of them are. And terrorist, of course, is a word which is used lightly because for one man, a terrorist might be for another man's freedom fighter. So you have to remember that it's quite complex. But most of them actually would join a fight because of the US mostly, NATO, a coalition, whatever you call them, or Western Christian, so-called Christian nations, over Israelis, which are of course not Christian, most of them, but they are in the Judeo-Christian whatever. There is this third temple theory crap which I've spoken before. So we see these people attacking them and then they take up a rifle and they start killing you. And that's where it's going. But BRICS is somewhat different. BRICS is, you can call it an anti-NATO type of establishment. Now, it's astonishing to me, since 2014, when I wrote the first book in December, it was published, I started warning about BRICS and I started saying, guys, you need to understand something. BRICS is not just what you think it is, and BRICS is going to grow and BRICS is going to become a real problem. Now, for South Africans of my age and where we come from, we are quite Western orientated. So our army, our air force, our navy, everything was based upon NATO standards. Well, it was higher than NATO standards, much higher actually. And the rank structure, the training, everything was based upon, let's say, the UK, the British Army, and as well as the Air Force and the Royal Navy. I mean, the Royal Navy and the South African Navy is literally the same thing. Well, about the same in size, to be honest. Once again, tell me which navy in the world in NATO actually has more admirals than fighting ships? Royal Navy, huh? No, you don't know that, do you? But yeah, so it's Western orientated, and then came the changes from 1994. Actually, it started in 1990 on February when Mr. Mandela was released, and the changes were coming. And then suddenly we realized that things are now completely different. We realized that when we saw people like Yasser Arafat and Muammar Gaddafi and those people we consider to be enemies suddenly arrive and they are wined and dined in the presidency. And then we realized, okay, well, everything has changed. Everything is upside down from our viewpoint. Right or wrong, doesn't matter. And that's besides the point, but that's what happened. And that's what history should reflect, and that's why we wrote the books, and that's why I'm making this talk, because I can tell you, it is important for you to come on record. It's important for you to make a stand somewhere. So that if you are accused in the future, you can always say, well, if you look at this was my view 10 years ago. And perhaps it has changed because it can always change if new evidence comes to light or you had a change of mind for good reasons, obviously. Then of course it can change. But it's important for me to be on record because then I can sit like I'm sitting here now and say to you, well, from the very first book I started mentioning BRICS and I started discussing it and I started telling people, you better wake up to it, you better wake up to it. And lo and behold, not a single Western intelligence analyst, not one of them actually realized, not one of them. It's only very recently, and it is now August of 2025. It's just very, very recently, I would say in the last year or so, that they started taking note of BRICS. And they started taking notes of BRICS because of the Ukraine-Russia war, which was started by NATO expanding east. My people can try to deny that, I just don't get it. I mean, you know what? If something is so obvious, like trying to deny that there was a Holocaust in World War II, to me it's just stupid. I mean, what are you trying to do? I just don't get it, to be honest, I don't. Because certain things in life cannot be denied, and it is undeniable that this is how it started. You, the West, you have promised not to move 1 inch east, but then you started moving east, and Russia objected and objected until what happened 2014, that coup d'etat in Ukraine, which makes every single Ukraine government from 2014 illegal, by the way, under unlawful in international law. But of course, as I always say to you, rules-based order, rules for me and F all for you, and I change it as I want to. In fact, and I don't want to harp on the subject, but it is in every video. If you want to understand why the West, especially the US, is acting the way it is, you need to go to the Bible. You need to go and read Daniel, and you go and read Revelation. And once you've done that and you read those two books and you looked at the videos and information I've given you, you will realize, I hope, that the US is the second beast of the Bible. And then it's going to act like the second beast, and it's going to act on behalf of the first beast, the Catholic system, and that's going to, of course, get its power from where? From Satan, the dragon. Yeah, that's what the Bible says. Why do you want to argue with me? That's what it says, end of story. So it's going to act like that, and we see it acting like that all the time because the second beast has now woken up to the fact that BRICS is actually extremely powerful. Why? Because if you look at the economies of the countries involved there, you have Russia, who is going to be the biggest economy in Europe quite soon, if not already. And it's a huge country and it is powerful. In fact, its military is more powerful than the US and NATO combined by far. Not only me saying it, guys, there's a lot of other analysts who was actually saying this. If you don't know about it, then stop watching Fox News or CNN and go and look a bit alternative, and you'll find out that the US military is in major difficulty at the moment. And they've been for many years, and we've been warning from the side. We've been looking at it, and we've been warning about it, and of course we were laughed at. And so for me, it's a very much a deja vu feeling. I look at these people, I say, but I told you 7 years ago in my books already. I told every one of you who would listen to me, which wasn't many of you, and you wouldn't listen to me. You were just laughing at me. And now it's coming through, and now it's too late. It's too late. You will. That's my belief. You will definitely lose. NATO, that's you. Second beast, US, you're going to lose the war against China. You're going to lose that war. And you're going to lose thousands of people, and then we'll see what happens. Because every single time that they practice these scenarios, and they do it with AI and with computer simulations and all sorts of things, guess what? Every single time that the US loses like that, or NATO, they go nuclear. And they have this utterly idiotic idea that you can use a battlefield nukes or tactical nukes, small nukes against a nation, and then tell that nation, oh well, it was just tactical, let's not overreact here. No, you idiots don't understand something. If you nuke Russia or you nuke China or you nuke India, whoever, there's gonna be a total response. The mutually assured destruction. Have you heard about that? MAD. And that's a problem we had with terrorism. Why? Because the terrorist don't give a shit about MAD. Doesn't care about the principle. If he can get hold of a nuclear bomb, he's going to plant it in New York and blow you. He's going to do that, or London, or wherever. Were you looking for that to happen? Yeah, obviously, you're tendering for nonsense which could have stayed, but you're not going to change. I mean, you're a second beast. Well, why will you change? And your little chihuahuas will come next to you. They will run after you. Doesn't matter. You have no manhood. Europeans, you have no manhood. When Daddy speaks in the Trump White House, you bend down and touch your toes and take whatever comes to your ass. Yeah. It's amazing. I never thought I would ever see you people like that. I mean, you're such arrogant pieces of things. You still really think that you control the world. Yeah, you really think so. You really think the world consists of a group seven, the big seven countries. Yeah, you think that. Okay. Well, in fact, BRICS is way above you now. It's above everything. And the funny thing is, I still have to hear any one of these intelligence analysts in the West to realize that between Russia and South Africa, they have most of the gold in the world. Do you know that? And with Russia and the oil and now the other countries which came in a bit late, they have most of that too. Do you know that arch liar, that idiot Winston Churchill? And I'll make a video on him. I'm just waiting for a time which I'm in a relaxed mood because I will probably using foul language when I speak about that 33-degree Freemason, that Satan worshipper, which is called, what, the greatest Briton who ever lived? Really? That's your greatest person ever? I wonder about that. But anyway, so he was always saying in the Second World War that those countries with the most populations, and by that he included the entire British Empire, would actually win the war. And yeah, he was right. Now, if you look at the status quo right now, then BRICS not only have most of the people of the world, have also more countries than what NATO Western countries actually have. And per capita or power, there's some kind of a test, financial one, they are way above you. In other words, they can spend money. You can't. You have to borrow. And how do you borrow money? You issue government bonds. And in the old days, countries like China would actually buy. By the way, it's got the biggest economy in the world. Parity or something they call this test. So these people, this BRICS is going upwards and you're going downwards. And it is so in history, wherever you have an empire which is going down, there's a bigger empire which is created, which comes out of it. And that big empire and this old empire definitely will have a military clash, and normally the old empire will then see its ass. It's just the way it is. It's a way of life, but you people don't want to see that. Because why? Because you're indoctrinated by the crap you see on TV and so forth. And yeah, I'm sure you can say that to me as well. But again, I had these views more than 10 years ago already, and I was not influenced by anybody because they weren't talking about it. Yeah, you see now, that's why you need to come on. That's why you need to come on record. Now, BRICS started off with Brazil, and Brazil, by the way, is a bigger economy than the UK since 2012. Yeah, sometimes it's bigger, sometimes a little bit smaller, but it's a massively big country and it's a powerful country. In fact, it bought the old French carrier Foch, I believe, called after Marshal Foch of the First World War. I don't know if it's still in service, but yeah. I also know that at one stage, BRICS, Brazil actually decided they want the Swedish Gripen fighters to replace whatever US things they had. Aircraft, I don't know how far that went, especially now with Sweden having joined NATO. Yeah, well, now you're nice targets. Yeah. Glad I don't live there. But I can tell you that people are fed up with the West. They're really fed up with this constant interfering, constant creating of wars and constant tariffs. Now, besides Brazil, which is really big, you also had Russia, which is also a very big country, and then you have India. Now, India is a bit of a wild card. You don't really know where India stands, but I will not dismiss India military-wise. I think India has got a good military. Yes, they saw their asses with the Pakistan Air Force just very recently. They got the surprise of their life. Why? They're using Western equipment. Yeah, and they were believing in it. Now we're changing back. I mean, they always used a combination of some Western and some mostly Russian. But now we're changing back. And of course, I will get to how the West is trying to influence this process. But India too is being forced in a direction now with its tariffs. And basically what the US is saying to them, well, if you buy Russian oil and then convert it into diesel and buy and sell it to the Europeans, you see this two-sidedness of this two-faced nonsense of the Europeans. It's amazing. Then we're going to sanction you, because that's what the tariffs are, they're sanctions. I'm just saying basically sanctions. Will it work? No. It will definitely explode in their faces. And what's also going to happen is India will probably now realize, we hope, and they already started the process by holding quite a big deal to buy 8 Poseidon anti-submarine aircraft. They're putting that on hold, and they told the US immediately, we don't want your F-35 shite either. Hello, Donald Trump, Daddy, that's what you caused. That was the first step. What did China tell you? The next step in the next country in BRICS. China told you to piss off. We're not going to stop buying the oil. They have to. Where else must they buy it? And you can't supply them, and they need to expand. And China is a roaring economy. Guys, if you don't believe me, go online. Look at the people having the YouTubers who actually live in China and hear what they say. Because they're there. They can tell you, look, here's the pictures. What more do you want to see? No, we're not in the pay of the Chinese government. Why? The Chinese government doesn't need to pay them. It is obvious for us who's actually been to the place and don't listen to Fox or CNN. We know better, and I live in the East. I live in Thailand. And I can tell you, I walked yesterday, I was looking for a 55-inch TV. And I can get one for about a quarter of the price which I would pay in South Africa or in Europe. Why? Because I'm right next to China. I get on my keyboard, I order the thing, 2-3 days later it arrives in its box with its guarantee, everything. I have no problem whatsoever. In fact, their banking systems are so far ahead, it's scary. Why? Because it's all about control, guys. It's coming back to the fact that at some stage you will not have cash, and yes, you will have to use your phone with your app, and that's how you're going to pay for everything. That's what we do in Thailand already. We don't use cash. Yes, we have cash. We have a lot of emergency cash in the safes. Of course, you have to do that. But these things are being implemented, and I guarantee you the control, even if you look at the West, it is utterly amazing how your citizens are being controlled. You can really see the second beast influence everywhere. There is no freedom. You are definitely going to go back to where you were in the Middle Ages, and they are doing that. Fascism has returned. I'm not going to explain it to you again. Read my books, Oath of Evil, other books, listen to what I had to say. Disagree with me if you want to, that's not a problem. But take note of it, because up to now, as I say to you, I've got a deja vu feeling. Because whatever I was explaining to people and whatever I was saying actually came out true. So yeah, India is the other part of BRICS, and it's a strange country because it's got a bit of an enemyship with China. Why? Well, the West is actively trying to stir trouble. That's exactly what they're doing, and we'll get to that now. I'll explain to you just now. And then after India, you got China, and China I don't need to explain. China's got a bigger military than the US by a factor of 4, I think. And they've got a better navy, got a bigger navy, and it's new. Go and read Codename Lucy, where I speak about the dreadnought principle, where you have one fleet, the White Fleet, the US Navy, which is now old, it's dilapidated, it is flown to pieces, it's sold to pieces. They cannot replace their ships because China can build 280 vessels to every one you can build. Huh? How are you ever gonna, what are you gonna do? South Korea? Yeah, okay, we can bomb that. Okay, what about Japan? Can Japan build 2 vessels? Well, we can bomb Japan as well. We can stop that. Can you bomb China? Well, no. Your aircraft carriers will not get far close enough before they sunk. What else are you going to do? Nuke them. Okay, that's the end of the world. Do I think that will happen, the nuke story? No, because the Bible doesn't talk about that. The Bible talks about the second coming of Jesus and how it's going to work. He will not touch the ground. That's how you know all these shysters walking around calling themselves Jesus. is flipping idiots, or they are from Satan, or they are Satan himself. I don't know. But they're definitely not Jesus Christ. Why not? Because the Bible says he will not touch the ground. You will go up and meet him up. You'll go up. Your body will change. Go and read Oath of Evil. I do describe it to you exactly what's according to the Bible will happen at the end times. And will be anybody left afterwards? No. You'll all be dead. You'll either be in heaven or you're going to be dead. It's gone. It's over. Once that day arrives, it's over. You're gone. Yes, you'll be resurrected. Yeah, you will die again. Yeah, you won't, and I don't care. So anyway, China is mighty, and it's a mighty place, and it's flexing its muscles. Now let me put that in perspective. If you're going to Africa, let's say Tanzania, or you go to any African port, and you see a South African warship lying there, which ain't often, but let's say you do, it is a nice feeling. It's a nice feeling almost of awe, because one day there's nothing, and the next day you see those warships lying there, and then they disappear again. And that's the power of a navy. And all your great empires, recent ones, all of them had great navies. You think of our Royal Navy used to be great at one stage. US Navy used to be great at one stage. Not anymore. I mean, the Royal Navy doesn't even exist anymore. It is on paper. It's snobbish. It's nonsense. But I'm not going to go into that. And the US Navy actually stopped shape. Yeah, it's not as all powerful. You know, when Daddy Trump says because of a tweet, a mean tweet, go out and say, I deploy two nuclear submarines to. Let me explain something to you, idiot. Whenever a boomer, that is one of these big submarines which can launch ballistic missiles, whenever that thing is picked up, it is shadowed by hunter-killer submarines. Yes, of which the Russians have very good ones, better than yours. By the way, they use lesser crew as well. Why? Optimization. Read Codename Ghost. I do speak about it. Once again, I haven't heard a single Western intelligence analyst ever speak about these things. Perhaps I should read my books. Perhaps I should do that, because we see things we just can't see because we're in a bubble. We're on the outside. We look at both sides. It's easy for us. And so they throw these submarines, and the reverse is also true. If one of the Virginia class or Los Angeles class can get hold of a Chinese or a Russian boomer, they will definitely throw it. And if that thing goes to to the depth where it can launch its missiles, there's a damn good chance that they will sink it before it can do so. So then it becomes even more complicated. You might have a friendly hunter-killer with you to protect you. That's how important these things are. And of course, it's top secret. These are not things which you talk about on Twitter or whatever. What that crap, what Trump has bought, what freedom or what, I don't even know. I'm not on it. You just don't do that. And of course, he went out and he did that, and the whole world laughed at him. And I don't think the Russians are afraid of him either. Why not? Because I say again to you, if you launch it at Russia, they're going to launch back at you. Don't make a mistake. It will be the end of what you people understand for living. Most very rich people who can live in a bunker for 2-3 years, at some stage will have to surface, and they're still going to die. And living in a damn bunker ain't a life, man. You know what? Every time I walk on the beach here in Patong, I see the beautiful nature, I see the ocean, I see God's creation. And you wonder about the stupidity of man. The fact of the matter is that you're talking about powerful countries in BRICS. And then there's South Africa. Now, South Africa is also a bit of a wild card. Why is South Africa there? That's a question which actually started this entire thing. I was asking myself, why is South Africa there? Yes, it's the most developed economy in Africa. Yeah, because they tap it on the old system. Yes, not the new ones. I just want to say that. Yes, at one stage South Africa had more railways, more roads, and more electricity than the rest of sub-Saharan Africa combined. But in the meantime, the roads are sort of gone. The railways don't run. And the electricity is, for many years, were just power cuts all the time. Blackouts, rolling blackouts. It's pathetic. Why did that happen? Maintenance. Oh, yeah. Maintenance, corruption. That's it. Bad management. That's why it happened. It is really sad because in the 1990s, South Africa had real hope. Under Mr. Mandela, everybody expected this country to boom. And for a while he did. And then, of course, came a follow-up people, and the corruption became pandemics, epidemic, and I can't see it being ever changed. But suddenly, these four big countries, Russia, Brazil, India, and China, suddenly invite South Africa to be part of BRICS. And you have to ask yourself why. Because military-wise, at one stage, the South African military was rated above Norway, as well as, I believe, as well as with Switzerland and another country, I'm not sure which one, Netherlands. This is according to Jane's Defense Weekly, was rated above all three of them combined. Hmm? Hmm? Yeah. But in the meantime, of course, once again, same story, a lack of funding, a lack of leadership, a lack of direction. Things has crashed a bit, but they're still there. They're still there. And there's a lot of people who don't believe me. They think that it's nonsense. But, you know, I have the honor to speak with the admirals and generals on my other show, Legacy Conversations, and we do speak in private. And I have seen, actually, the South African Special Forces in action in Sub-Saharan Africa. And I have seen the infantry battalions and the parachute battalion, all those people being deployed. I've seen that. And where they fought, I was thinking of Bangui and other places. Usually they win. Usually they win. Yes, we had some problems, I believe, in the Congo just now, but again, guys, there's a huge damn difference between a peace operation and a war operation. And on Legacy Conversations, I will make episodes on that so that everybody can just understand the difference, because most of you don't. Why not? Because you were fighting soldiers. You were in a war zone. So you think like that. In a peace zone is a bit different. It's a peace operation is not a war operation. It's different standards, and there's different rules, and there's different laws. And there's certain things you just can't do, and worst of all, there's a huge difference in the equipment you have. So South Africa, military-wise, is not as good as it used to be, but it's still there, and I wouldn't take them lightly. That's my opinion. And then when I wrote Codename Mel's Choice, I actually wrote that book to expose to you that there's a huge Chinese military base in Marangwe, in Zimbabwe, very close to Mozambique, for you people who actually know different countries and maps. And I couldn't understand why that base was there either, until I realized that base is there to reinforce South Africa in time of war. And that made me think. And then came the rest of the countries who joined BRICS, and a lot of them are lined up now to become BRICS members. Now I'm going to show you a map here. I want to show you a map, and I really hope that you people actually have listened to me until now, because this is the crux of the matter. Look at this map. I know that Americans and most of the West doesn't look at maps. They don't know which city is where. That's stupid, because they only live in this little bubble for themselves. But look at this. It is a map of the earth where you live. And look where the BRICS countries are. And tell me, what do you see? Tell me, what do you see? Why are those countries chosen? And why are they part of BRICS? And what makes them important besides military, as well as their oil and their gold and everything else? Perhaps this guy, Daddy Trump, perhaps he can understand something, because it's called location, location, location. Okay, there I explained to you the secret of running a hotel or a business in a place like Thailand. You need the right location. It's the same when you buy your house. You need it in the right location, in the right area, in the right suburb. It doesn't help you buy a cheap house in a poorer suburb and you built it into a mansion, because ain't nobody who's got money to live in a mansion wants to live in Pretoria West. Just saying. Nothing against Pretoria West, good people there. In fact, in the old days, we called it the Wild West. We also called it a stoot for a brood. I'm not translating that, but you people who understand Afrikaans will chuckle now. You know exactly what I mean. But let me say something to you guys. The fact that a man is poor doesn't make him a bad person. In fact, they're often better person. Better people than the rich. Ask me, I've been an attorney. practiced law for a few years. I've met all of them, and I can tell you I would rather go and sit with a guy who has a tin of sardines to eat every night than I would sit with a guy with his T-bone in a 5-star hotel. Because one's a damn shyster, and the other one is a person I can actually relate to. Okay, so if you look at this map, and you've been looking at it long enough now, I hope you will realize that these countries, these BRICS countries, are straddling all the sea routes. Let that sink into you. Begin to understand. Why do I speak like this? Because we have evidence that in the US, half of your population can only read and understand up to a level of standard 6, 8th grade. You have a reading ability of a 14-year-old child, which means you have the actual ability to follow arguments that of a 14-year-old child. Oh, shame. How the hell did that happen? Because you're not stupid. You're not born stupid. Therefore, the system made you stupid. Why? So that they can control you. What else? That's what you do. You control the universities. You control the school system through the UN. By the way, who did that? Jesuits? Yes. Society of Jesus way behind it. And they introduced this to the world. So where are you going back now? Must I take you to the Dark Ages again? Who was the learned people? Oh, the priests. Okay. And these Catholic priests, what did they do? Oh, they ran all the whorehouses in Western Europe. Oh, yeah, that's true. They did. What else? Oh, they sort of teached about God in Latin. Can you speak Latin? Do you understand what they're saying there when they mumble away? No, I've got no idea what they say. Okay, so there's no understanding, right? And then came people and they started translating the Bible. And then the Bibles got banned. Yes. Why? Because they don't want you to know the truth. Okay. Why not? Because when you stay a damn slave, you're a serf, you're nothing, you're an idiot. And they control you. Okay. So we're going back to those days now. That's where we're heading. And it's going to happen. Can't stop it. Bible says it will happen. Times like you've never seen before. But luckily it won't be for long. And don't come to me with a 3.5-year story. That's bullshit. That's nonsense. People don't understand that prophecy either, but please read Oath of Evil and you'll understand more. Fact of the matter is, the BRICS countries were chosen to straddle all these communication and trade routes. Which means in a time of war, it can be what? It can be cut. What else can happen? Well, most of you are military people. You will agree with me, especially if you are officers, that the military runs on logistics. Yeah, guys, there's not much you can do with your tank or with your aircraft or even your rifle if you don't have bullets, missiles, or shells, or diesel, or aviation fuel, or whatever you need. It's got to be there. How long can a US aircraft carrier operate on full mission capacity? Tell me. How long before it runs out of aviation fuel and bombs? 3 days. Perhaps 4. But 3 days, 3 to 4 days. If I stretch it a little bit, 10 days. What happens then? Oh, well, it has to replenish. Okay. Can they replenish at sea? Yes, they can. What if those ships are sunk? Replenishment ships. What then? Oh. Yeah. When you're in side street, then you have to run away like you did at the Red Sea against the Houthis. You have to run. Yeah, you have to run away. What do you think is going to happen to you if you come there across the Cape of Good Hope? South African Navy is waiting there. The Chinese Navy is waiting for you. Perhaps a few Russian submarines as well. So let us say now you are damaged, you are injured, your ships are damaged. Can you make port? Well, if South Africa was on your side, which it flippin' ain't, yeah, you could have gone to Cape Town. There's port facilities to repair your ships. What about Durban? Yeah, Durban too. Is London? Yeah, it's a little bit, but still, it's there. Yeah, the only harbors who can do that south of Egypt. You know that, Alexandra? No, you don't know that, idiot. Of course you don't know that. So what are you going to do? Huh? We lost all of that now. Okay, let's go to Walfish Bay. You know, that big container harbor there in Namibia. Oh, who built it? Oh, Chinese. Chinese politics, they control it. Oh, okay, what about if we go right across the ocean? Let's go to Brazil. No, fuck you, Brazil will sink you. They're also part of BRICS. Okay, what else now, guys? What are we going to do? Well, let's try the Suez. Please. Even with the Israeli wars, the Suez is taken out of service within days, man. It's nothing. It's nothing. You sink a ship there, and there it stays closed. It was closed for what, 7-8 years? I think after the 67 war, or was it Yom Kippur? Doesn't matter. It was closed for a long, long time. Then what's the other route you have to take? Tell me. Oh no, I have to take it way past Cape of Good Hope if you come from Europe now. Oh, oh, oh. Yeah. Now you see why South Africa is part of BRICS. Yeah, wake up. What about the other side? Okay, Pacific. Well, you got Australia, little lap talk. You got New Zealand, shame. I mean, military-wise, they're zero on a contract. They don't have a populations, they don't have the equipment. I'm not saying as individuals they can't fight. I think that the Australians and New Zealanders can put up one hell of a punch. But they are dominated. Why? How do I know that? Well, the Australian Prime Minister had to apologize to the Afghan people for war crimes. Yeah, war crimes. Committed by the Australian, SAS? Special Air Service and the other Special Forces unit. Yeah, had to apologize. Why did they do it? Why did they start committing war crimes? Oh, they said they felt inferior. They felt, yeah, this is true, guys. Go and research and don't get angry. They felt inferior to the US Special Forces, fuck knows why. And they felt especially inferior to the British SAS, fuck knows why. And so yeah, them but they also a zero on a contract, to be honest. So now what? Now you're far away from your own shores, your own logistic command, which you don't have actually. Because you're not fighting a bunch of terrorists here in sandals with AK-47s. You're fighting actual armies now, who's bigger than you, more experienced than you, have better equipment than you, and have newer equipment than you, and they are strategically located, you idiot. That's why BRICS exist. So you're still looking at the map. And wake up to what I said to you. If you go past Pacific, you're going to be intercepted there as well. Can you see what happened? They surrounded you, but you didn't wake up to that. I've been warning you since when? 2014. Before that even, I sat down with a few people and I spoke to you. And you gave me lip service. But now you've got a problem. So what are you trying to do? What's your solution? Your solution is what you always do. You have to break this apart. How are you going to do that? Well, you're going to do two things. You're going to start with what became known in the East, or not the West anyway, became known as color revolutions. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at a country like Ukraine, and you're going to say, well, yeah, there's a lot of corruption there. It's the most corrupt country in Europe, by the way. Always was. The most Nazi-fied as well. Yeah, go and look at the Nazi symbols on the uniforms. Why don't you talk about that, idiot? Why? Tell me, why not? Huh? Oh, because it's okay now, we're killing Russians. It's the best money you ever invested. Huh? Those Russians, tell me, are we Christians? Orthodox, yeah. Orthodox, they don't know better. We respect that. They don't know better. But we're Christians, we humble. Go and look at Vladimir Putin, who you hate so much. Yeah, see him attending church. Do I see Trump attending church? Yes, once. Where? Catholic church, yeah. What was it? Of St. John or something. What was it? Of St. Paul, what? Whatever, one of those idiots. And the Antichrist himself, he was there on his knees. As I show you the picture, let me do it. Yeah, he's standing on his knees in front of an altar and icons. Protestant, huh? Tell me what Protestant will ever do that. You'll have to kill me to try and get me to do that in a Catholic church. I'll never, you won't even go there. It's not even a church, it's a house of Satan. That's what it is. But you don't see that because you can't think higher. Yeah. No, it's amazing. It's amazing. So what you're going to do is you're going to try your color revolutions everywhere. You're going to price these countries apart. You're going to see if you can break it somehow. Then you're going to see if you can somehow interrupt the trade routes. In other words, what you want to do is you want to boycott or sanction tankers or whatever. You want to try and, get them not to trade with each other. But then you're going to start getting desperate, like you're right now, extremely desperate, and you're going to go for the tariff routes. And you're going to say to them, okay, if you trade with this country, I'm going to tariff you. And you will have to choose. You've got to be either with me or you've got to be with them. Okay, well, I already explained to you they're more powerful than you. And you have nothing they want. Nothing. So we're just going to say, well, I hear you. From now on, we trade in our own currencies. Fuck your dollar. Which is not good news for us, by the way. Our investments are in dollars. And then, what else? What else are we going to do? Well, we're just going to survive the sanctions. So we have all the population on our side, and we have all the countries wanting to join us, and we're just going to line up and say, guys, let's work with each other. Because these people are insane, and they've been enslaving you for so long, and they're going to throw everything you've done wrong in life. You've done such a lot of things wrong. You should be ashamed. They're going to throw that against you. And then at some stage, you're going to miscalculate. And you're going to say, okay, let's attack you. Let's get a country close to you, and we get that country to attack you. Let's get Ukraine. Okay, now you've attacked Russia. Why do I say that? Because the war didn't start in 2022, idiot. It started in 2014 with your coup d'etat. Illegal, by the way. And it started then when you started attacking the Donbass and the other countries, provinces of Ukraine, which was predominantly Russian. Yeah. You started slaughtering people there, and they started fighting back. And you had this nice proxy war, and then it became a genuine war. Yeah. And how many Ukrainians dead already? More than 1 million. Entire generation wiped out. Yeah. Don't believe me. Well, tell me, idiot. Why do they need to go and grab people from the street? Huh? Do you think that's normal? It's normal, huh? Guy walks down the street, you grab him and send him to the front. Think he's going to be a good soldier? Huh? You think there's a chance that perhaps he shoots his mates and he goes and surrender? Huh? Yeah, there's a good chance. Of course he is. Where's most of your women now? Your young women who can have children. Where are they? Oh, no, they're not in Ukraine anymore. They ran away. They're in Western Europe, America, Canada, UK, wherever. No, they can't. They're coming back. No, like hell, they'll come back. Their children, they come back. No, not quite. Of course not. They're not going to come back. All right. So now you started this proxy war. As you started one between Pakistan and India. As you want to start one between India and China. Now, idiot, do you really think that we don't know this? Huh? You think we don't know this? You think these old methods of yours, you think we're not aware of it? Well, probably because you live in a bubble, but let me assure you, we are aware of it. So what's going to happen now? No, you'll carry on like that. You're going to do direct sabotage. Yes, like that attack on the Russian bombers, the strategic bombers, which, by the way, didn't wipe out 44 aircraft. I think we were 4 or 5, perhaps 6, of which 3 was definitely out of commission already. But this is an act of war. Do you know that? Let's be blunt here, guys. If you're from America, tell me, how are you going to feel if I get a terrorist organization in Mexico and I go and blow up your strategic bombers? What are you going to do? Oh, we're going to wipe out Mexico. We're going to... Okay. I don't think you have a military capacity to wipe out Mexico in a conventional sense, which is again the damn problem. Your military is so weak and pathetic, you only have your nukes there. And if you use your nukes, bingo, there you go, it's your end. Might be the end of the rest of us as well, but it will be definitely your end. And as Mr. Putin said, we will go to heaven with a good conscience. You won't. No, of course not. We'll end up in hell. But we can speak about hell as well. Read Oath of Evil. You'll be damn surprised at what actually came out of the Bible. And the Bible alone. Now you can say to me, Chris, why the Bible? Why? Because it influences. The Bible is giving you the blueprint of what's going to happen in the future. You need to study it and understand it to understand what's happening right now. You can't separate these two. They are closely linked. They're telling you what's going to happen. The prophecies are playing out as we speak. And BRICS is one of them. So basically, BRICS are straddling all your trade routes. You're already surrounded. They are military bigger than you, better than you in terms of equipment, and they're much, much more experienced. They also have all the strategic countries, all of them around, and they have ability to reinforce, and you're in trouble. And now you're trying to do the terracing, you're trying to break them apart. Economically wise, you don't have the money, nor you have production capacity. You've got nothing. You have no cards to play. Nothing. You've lost this already. And that's BRICS. BRICS was a strategic initiative, probably from China, because they think strategic better than you. And they've outplayed you, and it's over for you. And that's my humble opinion. And yes, you will cause trouble. Yes, you will carry on until a war breaks out. You will look for reasons to go to war because you think you can still crush these nations. Right now, we're at a stage where you're still doing your color revolutions. And for my friends in South Africa, guys, watch the future. See what's going to happen. See how the pressure is going to come on South Africa. They're going to try and loosen you. The same way they're doing with India right now, they're going to start loosening your grip. They're going to try to get you back to the mother. And that mother sits in Rome, the Antichrist. That's what they're trying to do to you. And then at some stage they're going to miscalculate and a full-scale war will break out. I don't think it will last long. They will be left bleeding and begging. And then, well, I don't know what happens then. We'll have to see. But that's the role of BRICS. That's how I understand it. And yes, you can say to me there's no military clauses in the BRICS Pact. It's just an economic thing. Well, you might be right. You might be wrong. Because if you look at the way they act, and if you look at the way our navies and air forces and armies and everything is starting to work together and exercise together, and how they are helping each other with equipment and war material and training and skills, then they probably decided at some stage in the future they will have to assist each other when you try your luck with one of them. Mm, mm, mm. So it might not explode directly into war like you attack, say, Iran. Not to say Russia is going to come and attack you now, but they will make sure Iran survives. In the meantime, you're just bleeding out. Yeah, that's how they play the game. Death by 1,000 cuts. Have you heard about that? No, probably not. It's a Chinese torture method. They put you in a fishing net and they tied it very, very tightly. And then, of course, with a lack of blood, your skin will swollen up, and it will stick out of the fishing nets, and they start cutting it, and then it gets rotten. Yeah, and then it gets a fever. Takes weeks, many weeks to die like that. I know about these things. So anyway, that is BRICS. I hope you understand where we come from. I hope that the rest of the Western intelligence analysts actually wake up to reality, because I don't think they are. But one thing I want to say to you, I find it extremely amusing when they start saying, Mr. Trump, and I can say any US president, doesn't matter, I'm just mentioning him by name. If he was only getting the right information, these people who are surrounding him, they are obviously Zionists and whatever they are. And he doesn't get the right. So are you making excuses for him? Okay, right. Do you know history repeats? Huh? Do you know what was said after the war in West Germany and East Germany about Adolf Hitler, Mustache man? That Catholic dictator. You know what they said about him. Let me explain to you. They said, if only the Führer, right, that's Adolf Hitler, if only he knew about all these concentration camps where they murdered the Jews and the Gypsies and other people, the spies, the gays, lots of people besides Jews also. If only he knew about it, if only he didn't get such bad advice. Or, he didn't know about it. If he knew about it, he would have stopped it. Same, huh? Same. You're making excuses. Why? Why? Well, perhaps you actually like what Donald Trump is doing. Perhaps you are serving Satan. Yeah. And then you like what's happening to the God-fearing people of the US and those left in Europe, which is preciously few, because it's atheist countries now, most of them. And they are so far down fake doctrines that it's ridiculous. It's not even close to Christianity. But anyway, still, in the eyes of Satan, for them to be murdered and to be killed and wiped out, and if he can start a nuclear war and he can get that, and that's the end of the earth and not the coming of Christ the second time, you think he'll enjoy that? Hmm? Yeah, of course he will. Of course he will. You see, you need to be able to look from a higher viewpoint. You cannot look at strategic and stop there. You cannot look at tactical and understand what's going on. You need to look at good and evil. I hope that's a message which comes out in my videos and my books. God bless until we meet again.